the first one is around SLAs. What are the SLAs that you commit to on the various levels of services that you're going to provide, and what is the process where SLAs are not met? For example, if I'm going to go and leverage a storage repository in a third-party data center and store all of my Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 application data that I run my business on daily, and that fails, what is the response that I would expect back in terms of the recovery of that data and compensation, more importantly, if the SLAs weren't met? I think that's a key question. I think there is a myriad of legal related issues around SLAs within cloud services that have yet to be fully explored, and I think that is an area that we'll see a lot of time and effort spent on over the course of the next couple of quarters and years ahead. The second one would be understanding their roadmap in terms of portfolio development. What you don't want to do is, the model that we believe most corporates and enterprises will probably go towards is a hybrid cloud, whereby they run an internal virtual private cloud that addresses the things that they're really good at, where they need to keep infrastructure and capability in-house, but it's an IT as a service model. It's not IT as we know it today. It's an IT as a service model that faces back to the business, that's more OPEX than CAPEX orientated in nature, and that's very delivery based. That's all SLA tied, and where, measurements are truly in place. I don't think IT has really been under serious scrutiny, is my sense, because I have a lot of conversations on some pretty primary questions around costs, and then they're not well understood. So I think getting that virtual private cloud piece in place and getting some measures and getting some management construct in place is step one. Step two is then looking at what the public cloud provider is able to offer, and then kind of bridging the two. And so then in context of the public cloud offer, one of the things you have to understand is how's their portfolio going to develop. What services do they offer today? What services do they plan to bring to market? How do they plan to bring those services to market? And what are the likely benefits if I decided to begin to shift applications or parts of my infrastructure from my own virtual internal cloud across to this public cloud? You want the public cloud provider to have a dynamic set of offerings. You want them to have a roadmap of offerings that builds in capability and scale and robustness, because by doing so, they'll eventually leverage economies of scale, which will bring down the cost of services. And as they bring down the cost of services and they prove that those services are resilient, it actually reduces risk on within the corporation, and they think, look, I'm willing to give up a little bit more to my public cloud provider. So understanding the roadmap, really key. Understanding the technology partners, I think, is also important. For example, do they plan to offer a suite of ERP applications, and are those ERP applications aligned with my existing ERP applications? So for example, if I'm an SAP customer, what is the on-premise costs of running SAP relative to the off-premise costs, and what's the cost construct look like today, and how is that going to evolve? So trying to marry up, if I was a corporate CIO, my internal vendor community with my cloud vendors or partners vendor community, I think is key. And trying to drive a reasonably tight correlation there is important, because it enables me to do a very clear objective side by side in terms of cost benefits versus managing myself and moving across. I think the third one is around security and information management. It's top of mind. Now vendors are out there doing some really innovative things, right? VMware at VMworld 2010 announced a lot of development within their security offerings, with endpoint security and their cloud security story. So I think that will begin to address a lot of people's concerns. And then you've got some vendors out there doing really progressive things. NetApp with their secure multi-tenancy story, which really addresses the data and information security piece, where you can have several organizations housed on the same array, and yet each organization's data is secure and segregated from other organizations. So you've got organizations really working hard on the security piece, and I'd like to understand from my cloud vendor, again, which technologies they're using and how they're addressing that security piece proactively. I think the third one is just around the availability of the infrastructure and how it works and how it operates, and the points of leverage from my own infrastructure into theirs, their ability to respond to my needs, so the availability and the agility of their offerings, I think, are important. So they're really the things. So, SLAs, portfolio development, securities, their technology partner ecosystem, availability of the services, and the agility in which they can respond to my business needs. Not a comprehensive list, but by any means. But, if you're going to move what is business critical assets into somebody else's management, I think it's fair that they would address at least those items.